We are continuing with the teachings of Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj from the book I Am That. So the questioner asks Maharaj about Jnani. The questioner asks whether the Jnani dies. And I will read out response from Nisargadatta Maharaj. Maharaj says, he is beyond life and death. What we take to be inevitable, to be born and to die, appears to him but a way of expressing movement in the immovable, change in the changeless, end in the endless. To the Jnani, it is obvious that nothing is born and nothing dies. Nothing lasts and nothing changes. All is as it is, timelessly. In fact, I would go on to read even further, which I think will complete this whole thing, where he says, consciousness comes into being and goes out of being. It is a matter of daily occurrence and observation. We all know that sometimes we are conscious and sometimes not. When we are not conscious, it appears to us as a darkness or a blank. But a Jnani is aware of himself as neither conscious nor unconscious, but purely aware, a witness of the three states of the mind and their contents. What Maharaj is saying here is that Jnani does not live in time. Jnani does not rely on time. Jnani is not concerned with fixing himself or fixing the world. Jnani is simply being. And in that being, there is a peace. In that being, there is a knowing, a deep knowing. And that itself is sufficient for a harmonious life and living. So, Jnani accepts everything, even the organism with all its traits, tendencies, proclivities, with all its conditioning. Jnani totally accepts that this is the organism, this is how this organism was designed. When I say designed, is that when we are children, we are subjected to a lot of ideas, a lot of concepts. As we grow up, those ideas and concepts and beliefs start becoming deeper and deeper. And we get that information from diverse sources, including our parents, friends, schooling, college education, media. There are so many forces that are acting, that are shaping up this biological organism. So Jnani knows that the biological organism acts according to its conditioning, whatever it's subjected to. But Jnani knows that his or her true nature is timeless. So Jnani does not go on a quest for self-improvement, but Jnani retains in the self. He or she remains in the self, in the eternal self. That is what Nisargadatta Maharaj is saying here. It is not a matter of being conscious or unconscious. Those are worldly concepts, and we usually use them to target other people, telling other people that they are unconscious because they show certain traits and tendencies which by the modern society are not considered good at this time. Whereas in the early times, people would accept that as human conditioning. But in today's time, they are classified, people are shamed based on that, and it is often projected as a negative thing. So Jnani is not in control of these forces, and that is what he or she is aware of. And they're not trying to change anything or anybody. A Jnani is always self-focused. That means the movement of awareness in a Jnani is always on his own behavior, his or her own behavior. They're not concerned about the world. They're not concerned about bringing an order to this world, because they see order in the chaos itself. They see how that order is not different from the chaos. In fact, it is all mental conditioning. What we think as chaos out there, confusion, conflict out there, does not exist for Jnani. Jnani sees the organism experiencing conditioning, experiencing turbulent emotions. Jnani does not find a solution, because deep down there is no concept of the separate self for the Jnani. Everything is the eternal self. But the questioner has a doubt. So the questioner says, when does the witnessing begin? Now, in the last reading, I said, Jnani is aware of himself as neither conscious nor unconscious, but purely aware, a witness to the three states of the mind and their contents. Let us understand what witnessing means. It does not mean viewing things from a particular perspective. That means Jnani is not concerned with what is right or wrong. It simply sees things as they are, which may include the biological organism's resistance to certain type of events. The biological organism not being able to accept certain things. For example, this biological organism, which I call me, is not conditioned for wars. I do not support wars. Whether that's right and or wrong, I do not know. Sometimes wars are fought because conditions are such. So I don't go into the depth of whether wars should be fought or should not be fought. But I know that this organism does not like war or aggression. So he says, Nisargadatta Maharaj says, wisdom is eternally negating the unreal. To see the unreal is wisdom. Beyond this lies the inexpressible. The problem is with majority of us is that we get identified with certain aspects of our life. With minor things, we get caught up, completely caught up. This happened, they said this, they said that. And the whole life keeps revolving around that from beginning to end. There is no peace. It is just chaos, confusion, drama. Now, for a Jnani, he or she sees perfect order in all of that. He does not try to change that. But he says, Nisargadatta Maharaj says that wisdom is disregarding the unreal. That means Jnani, having tasted the bliss of the eternal self, starts rejecting thoughts that are unproductive, that are creating chaos. It does not mean that the Jnani is neutral. Jnani simply has the understanding that things may be chaotic sometimes. But he does not deliberately do anything to introduce a chaos into the system. So the questioner comes up. with another question and says, there is a conviction in me that I am the body. The state of feeling oneself the body mind, the mind body, or even pure mind, when did it begin? Again, the questioner is trying to make sense of this concept and trying to ascertain that how does this state of pure eternal self arises. So it is mistaking that for a state, whereas Maharaj is saying that it is the substratum that lies in dreaming, waking and deep sleep. So Maharaj says, you cannot speak of a beginning of consciousness. The very idea of beginning and time are within consciousness. To talk meaningfully of the beginning of anything, you must step outside of it. And the moment you step out, you realize that there is no such thing and never was. There is no reality in which no thing has any being on its own. Like waves are inseparable from the ocean, so is all existence rooted in being. So try to see this. Has anything ever appeared outside your consciousness? Does anything ever appear outside being? It does not. To say that something is apart from the being cannot be an experience without the being. Without the presence, there cannot be any experience, because the presence is the substratum, the being is the substratum. So even to say that, there is something that nobody has ever seen, if that is true, then that will never be known, because it is not there in consciousness. It has to be in consciousness for it to be known. Even the idea of time. To ask a question, what is beyond time? Or what was before time? It's a wrong question. Because time itself includes the concepts before and after. So there cannot be a before outside of the time. There cannot be an after outside of the time. Similarly, in space, what is outside of space? That's again a wrong question. Because space itself includes the concept of inside and outside. So to say that something is outside space, what is beyond space, what is beyond universe, it's a wrong question. The universe implies timelessness, spacelessness. It is all pervading consciousness. There is nothing that is outside or inside of consciousness, because consciousness is not bound by time. Time is just an appearance in consciousness. So whenever the questioner asks, now we have to see, why is this questioner asking these questions? What is the motive behind it? Well, he's trying to get hold of a state. And he thinks that that state somehow had a beginning. But this is the thing. If a state, which can be called enlightenment or whatever one perceives it to be, if it has a beginning, then it will surely have an end too. And what has a beginning and an end is a transient object in experience. But experiencing itself does not have a beginning or an end. It may seem as if we were born, we took birth, and we can say that we did not exist before birth, but we are basing that only on memory, which is fickle. We don't even know what we had for food 3 days back. We cannot not even remember small things, forget about what was before birth. But something must have been there. Nisargadatta Maharaj in this very book, in another section, says, something must have sprung up that was aware. How did you know you were born? You were told that you were born. You were told that you did not exist before born. But how do you know? You're totally basing that on memory, which is volatile, fickle. So, all in all, the assertion here is that your natural state is here and now. It is timelessness. It is consciousness. It is not to be attained. It is not a function of time to realize that. I recently received an email from someone where this person asks a question and says that I'm not able to recognize this eternal principle. What should I do? And my response to that person is, you can never ever experience the eternal principle as an object of your consciousness, because your consciousness is limited. It is a filtered perception. It is based on very limited knowledge. Knowledge that you have acquired in the past. That means knowledge that is time-bound. So how do you use that knowledge which is time-bound to go beyond time? You cannot. So you can never know the eternal principle, the truth, as an object of your experience. Yet, it is readily here, it is readily present as here, now. All is now. Everything is now. So the questioner says, when did the feeling I am the body arise? At my birth or this morning? Maharaj says now. Then he says, but I remember having it yesterday too. Maharaj says the memory of yesterday is now only. We can say that my past exists. We can say, you know, what happened to me in past was horrible. I went through this, through that. But when we take a look at that, where is that exactly happening? Even the past that you talk about is now. The now is the stamp of reality, ever present. It does not change. In fact, change is a movement in the now. So now is not time bound, but time is now bound. So the questioner says, but surely I exist in time, I have a past and a future. And Maharaj says, this is how you imagine now. Questioner again says, there must be a beginning. Maharaj says, now. Questioner again says, and what about ending? Maharaj says, what has no beginning cannot end. Finally, I will read out Maharaj's word, where he puts conclusion to this whole matter. Here he says, what is real about your question? It is a state of mind. No state of mind can be more real than the mind itself. Is the mind real? It is but a collection of states, each of them transitory. How can a succession of transitory states be considered real? So the questioner again says, like beads on a string, events follow events forever. And Maharaj replies to that, they are all strung on the basic idea, I am the body. But even this mental state does not last. It comes and goes like all other states. The illusion of being the body-mind is there only because it is not investigated. Non-investigation is the thread on which all of the states of mind are strung. It is the darkness in the closed room. It is there, apparently. But when the room is opened, where does it go? It goes nowhere because it was not there. All the states of mind, all names and forms of existence are rooted in non-inquiry, non-investigation, in imagination and credulity. It is right to say I am, but to say I am this, I am that is a sign of not inquiring, not examining, of mental weakness or lethargy. So again, Maharaj comes back to this whole question. Why are the doubts arising? Your true nature is here and now. You are pure consciousness. You are Sat Chit Ananda. Where is the doubt? The doubt simply is that we have accepted ourselves to be this limited body. That is our deep belief. And when we limit ourselves to that, then we get caught up in the mundane affairs. Things should be like this, things should not be like that. I feel good about this, I don't feel good about that. All these things, they relate only when the mind is identified with the body. Well, in this case, Maharaj, when he says body, he refers to mind also. Body, mind, one unit. And he calls it the body. And he says that it is non-inquiry, non-investigation. I'm out there to know the truth, but I'm not questioning my own existence. I'm not investigating into this I, whether it's real or not. I don't want to even bother. I assume I start my spiritual journey with the assumption that I am real. And then illusion propagates more illusion. It just brings up more and more illusion. Then I try to improve the I. I try to make it the best version. And I think that when it is the best version as my mind perceives it, that means I'm enlightened. That means I have gained all knowledge. That means I'm flawless. But we do not question the I. Jnani is free of this I. Jnani is free of the separate self. For Jnani, there is no separation. So Jnani lives with this wisdom of disregarding what is unreal. And that is why he or she lives a peaceful life. That is the message here.